Hello, everyone. Welcome to EduSmart's Professional Development Series, another wonderful edition coming at you today. As people are joining in, I'm going to steal the stage just for a little while our presenters are setting up their stage. So first, let me introduce myself. Some of you are new here and you haven't seen my beautiful face yet. My name is Devanshi Mathur. I am EduSmart's marketing coordinator. But today I am going to be our kind of background stage manager. So what that means is if you're having any technical difficulties today, you're having trouble unmuting your mic or muting your mic, you can't hear, send me a message or email us at webinar@edusmart.com and I will be answering all of that. Additionally, I'm also monitoring our chat box today. So at the end, if time permits, we will be having a question and answer session. So please put all of your questions or engage with our presenters through that chat box. Ask your most difficult questions. Let's put them on the spot today. And I will feed your questions if time permits throughout the webinar. Today, I am also joined by our EduSmart experts. We have Arlene Kaur here, we have Todd, Mark, Lisa. They are our EduSmart experts. So if you have any questions you'd like to get to their attention at, please leave them in the chat box as well. And if we don't get them to the end, I will record all of them and forward it to them afterwards. Let's see what else. All of you who have registered today will be receiving an email tomorrow afternoon or in the evening with a recording of today's webinar, a copy of the slide deck, and our presenters today were kind enough to create a lesson plan for all of our attendees here. So if you would like a copy of that lesson plan, you will be getting a copy at the end of today's webinar, but also a copy will be emailed to you tomorrow evening. If you are interested in receiving an attendance certificate, I can get that for you. All I ask is that you reply to that email that you will receive with how you would like your name printed. If you would like Mr. or Mrs., your spelling, if you could include all of that, I will try to get those attendance certificates to you as soon as possible. Now, I know that you aren't here to listen to me, but I'm going to keep on talking just a little bit more. For those of you who don't know what EduSmart is, to introduce EduSmart, we've been around since 2007. EduSmart is passionate about supporting science teachers and students by providing standards-based content designed to engage students, help support teachers, and make science learning fun and memorable for all of our students. Though we're headquartered here in Austin, we support campuses all across Texas. In addition, our Florida expansion is taking off thanks to the leadership of Dr. Arlene Kaur, who's on our call here today. We serve over 1,000 campuses in Texas and over 250,000 students and teachers. We are constantly being improved to reflect the ever-changing demand of our users. If you are new to EduSmart and you want to try out what we do, I will be emailing you a place to try our product out for free for a little while. So keep an eye out for that. Now, Yasin, Angel, are we ready to rumble?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. If you want to share your screen, I'm going to give your introduction. So introducing the men of the hour, we have Yasin and Angel. Yasin is a Spanish national with a bachelor's degree in communication and journalism from the European University of Madrid. He has more than 20 years of teaching experience in both Spain and the United States and has been working in the development of multimedia education products for over 15 years. Angel is a Mexican national with a bachelor's degree in communications and journalism from Monterrey Tech. He has more than 20 years of teaching experience in both the US and Mexico and has been working in the adaptation of educational materials to the Spanish language in more than 15 years. Please give your warmest welcome to our presenters.
Well, thank you so much, Devanshi, for this kind introduction. Yeah, we are so excited to be here to start this presentation because we've been involved with EduSmart since the very beginning. I think we started in 2008. So, EduSmart, it's been around since 2007. And we've been having this relationship between EduSmart and Spanish Adaptations, which is our little company, to adapt into the Spanish language every single thing that they've been doing since, all the products that has to deal with EduSmart Science, in order to make something that looks like it was originally made in Spanish. So you have both things with the same quality and with fidelity. So Angel, are you able to share your screen with the presentation, or?
Not yet. I was trying, and it says the host has disabled that. I just wanted to introduce myself. I mean, I already was beautifully introduced by Devanshi. Thank you very much for that nice introduction. I see on my screen the man who also started off for us with our relationship with EduSmart, Todd. Hi, Todd. Good to see you. I don't know. I'm going to try again.
Yes, you should be able to do it now. Sorry about that.
It's still telling me to host disabled participant screen sharing. So let me know when I can try again.
I just make the multiple participants can share simultaneously. So you can share now.
Oh, now I can. Now I can. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So I think I'm going to share the screen, right? And I'm going to share our presentation, and here we go.
Perfect. You're set.
Okay. So, Mr. Puertas, you bat first. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, as we were saying that we are a small company, Spanish Adaptations, that it's been around kind of like, with EduSmart too. And we started this relationship, as we said, because we wanted to create a product that has all the quality and the fidelity in both languages, looking at the dual language program and of course all the bilingual programs, not only the dual language but the transitional too, but mostly the dual language, because that's the one that can benefit the most from having a product that has content, which is science, is very important, but at the same time you can do reading with it. So you can have both worlds in the same content. So you can do lessons with embedding both things. And in the dual language program or the transitional program, what happens is that sometimes you need things in English, sometimes you need things in Spanish. So with these things that we've been doing with EduSmart, what we've been doing is developing a solution that can be used seamlessly in both languages.
Yes, that's the. I mean, as teachers, we know the need. Right now, we are in different programs. I'm in the dual language program, and Yasin is in bilingual early exit program. But the need is the same. We want to be able to have content that we can use cross-curricularly, and that we can use also across languages. That when we plan as teams, that's one of the things that Yasin and I always talk about, and we with our friends at EduSmart, we also talk about is we as teachers need resources that we can, as Yasin was saying, seamlessly use in one language or the other for common assessments, for activities that we plan as a team. That in particular, in my case, in dual language, sometimes some weeks or some days of the week, I need them in Spanish, and then something happens, and because of the flow of things, I need them in English. This is something that we love, that we can work with in one language or the other.
Okay. Well, what you can see here is a little piece of information that we took from TEA. It's just the way that the bilingual programs are going. Of course, the first thing that you can see there highlighted is the TEA recommendation on using tools that support strong implementation of EL services with an elevated focus on dual language and content-based ESL and sheltered instruction program models. So that is what we're going to be focusing when we are presenting our lesson plan. You'll see that the tool that we are going to be using for the lesson plan fills this purpose. Like TEA is asking us to develop and to have all those tools, but at the same time, we as teachers, we don't have access to many of those tools. So the ones that we are going to present to you today, or the way we are going to be using EduSmart Science, is actually fitting this kind of tool that TEA is asking us to use. And at the same time, you have in there another piece of information highlighted, it is how the programs are going to look like in the future. And it's the near future, actually. The transitional programs are going down in numbers. The transitional early exit is gaining a little bit more of interest, and the transitional late exit is actually converted into dual language right now. So as you can see there, of course, the one way is right now 37%, and the two way is only 10%. But we strongly believe that the two way is actually the future. And we know that because we can look at other countries and you see what's happening in other countries where you have students that speak two languages seamlessly. And that's what bilingual means. Bilingual doesn't mean that you use one language to help learn the other language. Bilingual is actually master both languages at the same time, and that the reality is that the dual language two-way is the one that will actually work with two populations that have two different L1s. And then, you know, they share the same classroom and they share the same materials, the same, of course, activities and lesson plan that you're going to be working with them. And that's why we want to see these numbers and to see the lesson plan that we created with the EduSmart solution. You will see how it perfectly fits the purpose of that.
Okay, so that's what we planned for. This works for both of the programs that we discussed. So what are the characteristics of good bilingual education programs? It says right there, good bilingual education programs. This is not something we're giving credit to our source. We got this from Bilingual Education, an article called Need for Bilingual Education, Benefits of Bilingualism and Theoretical Foundations of Bilingual Education. We got it from stateuniversity.com. But it says, well, good bilingual education programs recognize and build upon the knowledge and skills children bring to school. They are designed to be linguistically, culturally, and developmentally appropriate for the students and have the following characteristics. This is very important because we think that sometimes in some of the programs are just, they see the L2 as remedial until we, L1, I'm sorry, remedial until we get strong in the language of instruction, that in this case is the L2 for most of these students. And as it says here, bilingual education, we have to build upon what they bring to school, not just use it until we don't need it anymore. So the characteristics are high expectations for students and clear programmatic goals, a curriculum that is comparable to the material covered in the English-only classroom. That's a very strong point that sometimes some bilingual materials don't address. Instruction through the native language for subject matter, an English language development component. And then this point, I think point 5 is important. Multicultural instruction that recognizes and incorporates students' home cultures. I think that's something that needs to be addressed and needs to be strengthened in the materials that are used in bilingual and dual language programs. And then administrative and instructional staff, community support for the program, appropriately trained personnel, adequate resources, and linguistically, culturally, and developmentally appropriate materials, which we think this material is It's all of those things. Frequent and appropriate monitoring of students' performance and parental and family involvement.
And I would like to point at those two important ones. If you can, Angel, go back. Yeah, that's the number 5 and number 8 are very important, but at the same time, I bet there's a lot of teachers, right now in this webinar that are thinking, well, I mean, there's a lot of materials that say they are in Spanish, but really they're not. They're just translations. Sometimes they're like really bad translations. Sometimes they're like Google translations that they don't even understand. The ones that are developing the program, they don't even understand Spanish. So they're just, Googling it and then pasting in there. And whenever you are, as a teacher, try to use that material, of course, there's no multicultural instruction that recognizes and incorporates the home cultures, because, if everything is written in English and it's written in a way that incorporates a lot of cultural references from the English culture or the American culture, what's going to happen is that those students are going to be are going to sense that there's a distance between the product and them to be able to learn it. As you can see, number 5, it is very, very important that you include those aspects that are culturally belonging to the population that you are teaching. And the other one, of course, is adequate resources linguistically, but then again, culturally too, and developmentally appropriately. Linguistically, because of course they need to be correct. And sometimes you see a lot of errors in Spanish developed products because they are just mere translations and they're very bad done. Culturally, because they just translate, but they don't adapt. And then the other one is developmentally. That's a huge one, because sometimes they do good translations, so they're linguistically correct. They may include some cultural references, like maybe, a story happens in Peru and the other one happens in Mexico and the other one happens in Guatemala, and they talk about things that happen in those countries and, cultural references. But then developmentally, that's another problem, because if you're not a teacher and you don't know what lexile, or you're not a content writer for elementary school, for example, you're not aware of what kind of lexile level you're writing for when you're writing for 3rd grade, 4th grade, or 5th grade. And that is another problem that we've been seeing in products that we use every day as teachers in the Spanish language for a bilingual program or a dual language program, a two-way, as I said. How are you supposed to teach Spanish to people that do not speak Spanish? So they have to learn Spanish as a second language with a tool that is not linguistically appropriate, culturally appropriate, and developmentally appropriate for the level of reading that those students have at that point.
So I think that point is for you, Mr.
Oh, yeah. Well, what we try to do today is to present to you a literacy lesson plan that is integrated into a science lesson. So you can use your science lesson to teach your literacy part. And that is very important when you have 15 minutes or maybe 30 minutes to teach your science, but then you have a huge block on reading that you can take advantage of to teach your reading too. And if you have this good tool, you can do both. So of course, we are going to be talking about reading informational text and how those skills can help you do the engage part on the science lesson. Writing non-fictional essays will allow you to do your elaborate part in your writing blog or in your language art blogs with a journal prompt that the students will be able to write. And then, of course, you will have your science blog that can actually contain a lot of ESL and, of course, the Spanish as a second language too, modifications, because you can use both products. The English and the Spanish are parallel in the EduSmart Science. So whatever you have in English, you have exactly the same thing in Spanish. Every single module, reader, every single thing, you have it in both languages. So that is how you're going to be able to look, for example, preview your content in L1 and let's talk again about the dual language two-way, because it's the best example, but you know that it's adaptable to transitional or the dual language one way. But in the two-way, imagine you are going to teach the science lesson, let's say in Spanish, but you have half of your classroom doesn't know Spanish as an L1. They have an L1 that is English. They're English speakers. They are just learning Spanish. So why don't you give them, like, for example, an instructional model one day before, so they can preview it before the actual class with the whole class is presented with the L2 science instructional model. See, this kind of stuff helps you with your ESL or SSL, in the case of the Spanish as a second language, modifications that you should have in your lesson plan to help your students.
So some of the things you can use with this literacy integrated in science lessons, for example, is with science texts that are available in EduSmart. We've been able to use to teach review text features, things like text features, main idea, context clues, cause and effect, making inferences, the vast majority of reading objectives. Mm-hmm. Also, when with these writing prompts that are really good, you are combining, as Yasin was mentioning, you are combining the elaboration of science objectives combined with the practice of writing non-fictional essays, things like establishing purpose, listing main ideas, supporting facts, selecting illustrations. Maybe that's an added thing, but they're really good working in cross-curricular lessons.
And then, of course, the ESL and the SSL in science, it's the way that you're going to present those modules with the students that do not have their L1 is not the one that you are going to be using for the content itself, which is going to be done through, like, for example, an instructional module in which you're going to explain your lesson and the science. So you can preview the keywords in their L1. And as we said, you have it in English or in Spanish. So you have glossaries, you have ways to preview those keywords. Of course, you have the audiovisual support, because you're going to be using an instructional module that is actually interactive, and it has a lot of audiovisual support there. And of course, the preview review in L1 of the whole content, you can either assign that instructional model to the students beforehand, like the day before, or a reader that you're going to be using as a read aloud in, let's say, in English, and you have some Spanish speakers in your classroom that will benefit from previewing that, or reviewing that same reader that you did in Spanish, for example. You're gonna give it to them in English afterwards to review for your, let's say, students that are English speakers, but they are learning Spanish.
Yeah, definitely. We'll show that in the lesson. So that's kind of like the roadmap for our lesson. We have our science content lesson. You can do it in English or Spanish. The content is there for you. And then the reading lesson, depending on the day of the week or your program, you can do it in English, you can do it in Spanish, and the same with the writing lesson.
So in here you have the five E's in the cycle. You have the engage part, which we are going to be using with the read alouds, and it's called the readers in the EduSmart Science solution. Then the guided questions are going to be your explore part of on the cycle of the lesson cycle, and we are going to still use the readers because they do have guided questions that you can use, or you can create your own, because those documents are actually editable. They are in Word document. The instructional module is going to be used as the explain part, in which you are going to be able to explain, but at the same time, because it's interactive, the instructional module will give you a lot of questions that you can use for debate in the classroom, and that's going to be done in your science block. Then the journal prompt is going to be your elaborate part, in which the students are going to be doing an essay, which they have to write, but they have some constraints. Like they are going to be given instructions. You will see them. It's really good. Of course, everything, again, we will repeat it. It's always in English and in Spanish, so you can decide which ones of the languages are you going to be using. But for example, in this case, this is going to be done in your language arts block, because these are writing. So it's a writing activity. So you can do it in Spanish if you have to do it in Spanish, or you can do it in English if you have to do it in English, or you can do it in both if you're doing a dual language two-way, and then you have one day in Spanish and one day in English. So it's the same journal prompt. And then you will use a graphic organizer, which is going to be your evaluate part, and that can be done again into your science block to evaluate the content, the science content. Because of course, we're not evaluating the reading skills here. The reading skills are going to be evaluated by your regular evaluations. What we are trying to put in here is a means to practice those skills in your reading block to prepare for your real test in reading, but at the same time, the evaluation is going to be, of course, for your science lesson, because what you want at the end of the day is for them to be able to demonstrate mastery in the science content.
At the end of the day, we know those science tests are very, very reading oriented. They have a lot of the questions are not simple, direct questions on science content. They're presented in a make an inference way, like, you know, like combining those reading objectives in on science tests. So all of these assessments in EduSmart, they work for science and reading. So this is the beginning of the lesson that we're going to present to you. We're focusing on the TICS 3.5, matter and energy, specifically 3.5C, which talks about changes in the state of matter caused by heating or cooling, such as ice becoming liquid water, condensation forming on the outside of a glass of ice water, or liquid water being heated to the point of becoming water vapor. Basically, changes of state in water. So we start with the read aloud. We can do this during a read aloud block. Teachers can do a science-oriented reading that previews or reviews the science lesson, and at the same time, it helps review or prompt reading objectives that were or will be taught. So we are just getting that engagement into the science topic that we will discuss later on. And also we can use it to, you know, get some inferencing questions and some cause and effect, different kinds of objectives we can talk about. Some school districts require teachers to do the read aloud component in Spanish, and others in English. My case in particular, we do it in Spanish. So if I'm using this, I don't have a problem. If we're doing this as a grade level content unit, cross-curricular unit, my only English teammates, they can use the version in English. EduSmart allows you to plan this part without worrying about this. So I want to show you the reader. Here it is in English. And there it is. It's loading. No. I'm just going to show you some of it.
Yeah, as you can see, it looks exactly like any other reading piece that you will use in your regular reading classroom, with all the elements that you need, with a lot of, you know, the paragraphs are created in a way that respects the lexile level that the students are supposed to have in that particular moment. So it's really useful in your reading class as a read aloud itself. But then, of course, because you are engaging the students into that particular lesson, that particular science there's behind that, what happens is that it serves you as an introduction to the science content that you're going to see later in the day. So it makes sense for the students because they're getting the same information from the very beginning to the very end. And it doesn't matter if you're in the reading block or the science block, it's the same concepts that you have there. And that's the one in Spanish, as you can see, is the same thing, the same structure, the same, it's a regular reading with all the quality and taking in consideration, of course, again, very important, the Lexile level of the students in Spanish at this level, which is a third grade level in this case.
And we've tried really hard to study the tics, the vocabulary in the tics, in the tics in Spanish, to use it mostly in these readers. So there is a connection with the objectives and these readers. And as you can see, we have it in English, we have it in Spanish. And one thing I love, as a teacher, I love about these readers is the illustrations. Because, I mean, most kids are very visual. And when you're talking about water and the different states of matter, well, you see it in all these illustrations. You're talking about something, and you can show it right there, and then to the kid.
You don't have to go to Google and Google Images, You have everything there. Well, in here, what you can see is our Explore activity, which it's going to be the part of the reader that includes the questions. It's called printables in the EduSmart Science solution. And you have those printables in English and in Spanish. They are in a Word document, so they're beautifully created there, so you can just download them and include the questions that pertain maybe to the skill that you want to teach that week. Let's say, for example, that this week you have to teach cause and effect in your reading block. You can still use this because it says, what happens to water when it evaporates? So that's a cause and effect question, but at the same time, you're teaching the concept in the content in English. So that Explore activity, you can actually use it in your reading block without having to compromise your science time, because you're doing reading. Actually, you are teaching them reading. The second question, as you can see, is something that every single teacher, since you start in second, third grade, you have to include, which is inferencing, right? We all know that inferencing is where they mostly, do bad grades, because it's very difficult for kids to understand that the answer is not really in the text, but you have to kind of like figure it out with the clues that the text is giving you. So it's giving you an example of how this can be used as an inferencing question. You can use reading skills to solve an actual science question, which, as Angel said before, that's how the STAR test in fifth grade science is going towards. It's not asking you direct questions. Right now, it's more and more big texts in which you have the science, and then you have to kind of make your own conclusions, inferencing, and make sure that you can do your context clues to learn the meaning of some words. So in here, you have two questions. Those two are examples, and they are there. But if you want to create a new question, you have the Word document there, and you can use it as a template for you to just create an extra question to drop there. I don't know, maybe a context clues. Maybe you want to drop there something that's like a prefix, suffix, or whatever you are teaching in that particular week.
Yeah, and you can do whatever you want as a teacher. You can print a couple of copies, cut the questions out, give pairs of kids, maybe not so much right now, but you can give some questions to some kids, then they come up with an answer, then can discuss it in class, and then you can move on to the explanation. Because it's always that exploration that it always drives instruction much better than if you just keep the kids just sitting there and just watching you explain everything. Another resource that technically is it's a review thing it's actually labeled as student. You can find it in EduSmart Science as a student review. We think it can also be an exploring activity that kids can do together in pairs or in small groups. That's why we say student reviews can be used as exploring activities or for reteaching. The teacher as a facilitator here can allow the kids to watch this. I don't know the sound.
Yeah, you have to share the sound with the.
I thought I had it. Thought I had it shared. So maybe I need to change my sound.
No, you have to share the desktop audio.
Anil, go ahead. Anil, hit your green button, share screen. When that pops up, the new screen down in the lower left, you see that box that says share audio?
Oh, there you go. I
There you
got
go.
it. I got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
Part quickly.
Yep.
Can you hear it
This
now? 'Cause
causes solid
I
ice
still can
to
hear it.
change into liquid water. This change in state is called melting. What happens when you heat the
Is
water?
everybody listening to that?
Yeah, we can hear it. It's good.
Adding thermal energy
How do
to
I hear it?
liquids
Because I can't
causes
hear
the
it.
particles of matter to
That's
move
nice
farther
that
apart
everybody else
and
is
more
hearing it.
quickly.
Okay.
Okay.
When
We
the
hear
water
both
starts
you
boiling,
and the
liquid water changes to water
product.
vapor, or
Okay.
water in the form of a
Um,
gas.
So
This change
let's
in
just
state
let
is
it
called
run.
evaporation.
And then it gets to a question that the kids can work together as a part of the
exploration. Yeah, I mean,
the exploration.
basically, you can use it as exploring activity as a whole class. So you present the video, and then whenever you get to the questions, you can all work on the question, or you can assign it to the students as a review or for reteaching the concept. But in our lesson plan, it's still in our explore part, and that's going to be done in your science block because it's actually science per se. Maybe you can use some modifications for ESL or SSL, and then you can just drop those ticks there in your lesson plan so you are covered.
All right, then we go to our explain part of the lesson. Never mind the explore here. It's supposed to say explain. We missed that one. So we're in the explain part of the lesson, and this is when we teach our interactive. We use our interactive module. I'm going to go to the module directly. And do I need to do that again, or it's already there? Okay. These modules are available in English and in Spanish, so if your district wants to teach third grade still in Spanish science, you can use it. If not, you can use it in Spanish for, as Yasin was saying,
Jamie can't wait for winter to arrive so that she can use her ice skates.
Anil, you're speaking
yes.
over the video, so
The
pause the
lake
video.
near her house
I'm
is
sorry.
perfect for
The thing is, I can't hear the video. But okay, I'm going to let the video run now.
Jamie and her ice skating skills. Why does the water on the surface of this lake freeze up during winter? In winters, the heat from the sun is much less than in summers. The liquid water freezes to solid ice.
I really, really love these interactive modules.
Let's use this bowl of
They
ice
have
to
a module
understand
for
why heating
everything and
causes
for
a change
every
in the
grade
state
level.
of ice. Adding thermal energy causes the tightly packed particles of matter to move apart quickly.
So as a teacher, you have the ability, if you're doing whole group, to pause it whenever you want to pause it and ask questions, get feedback, move on. You can pace it whichever way you want. That's one of the beauties of these interactive modules. I'm gonna go back to the presentation, unless you want to say something else about the interactive module, Yasin?
No. It's fine. We can move to the next one because it's already
Yes.
4:53, and we want to give you guys opportunity to ask questions. So
Okay. Then.
Okay. Yeah, so this part over here is the elaborate, as I said, is just a journal prompt. As you can see there, is a journal prompt that is related to what we are studying. In this case, is changing the states of water. And you see in there are three instructions in there. So there's constraints on that journal writing. The first one is the three state of matter. The three states of matter of the water. You need to include that in there. The cause of the change, and then the behavior of the particles of water in each state of matter. So if you are able to answer those three questions, then you will be done with your journal prompt. As you can see, you can use these in your language arts block because it's an actual writing activity, and you can include other things that you have in your language. Like, for example, in third grade, for example, you will want to look for adjectives, the correct use of adjectives, the correct use of punctuation, for example. So there are other things that you can drop in here. It all depends on whatever you are teaching that week and whatever you want them to consistently use after you taught. Like, for example, you started with good punctuation, you will expect at this point of the year to for them to be able to use correct punctuation. Well, you will look for that too in that journal prompt. But at the same time, they are reviewing and they're elaborating an original product, which is your elaborate part in your cycle, in your lesson cycle for science. So you're doing both things at the same time. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. And then we love these graphic organizers, as you can use them for the elaborate part of your lesson, or you can use them as an exit ticket. We picked this one in particular as an exit ticket because it has some rigor, not too much, I would say, but we're in the early stages of getting the concepts of evaporation, condensation, just working with graphic organizers. It's good for the kids because you are testing the tics, but at the same time you're helping the kids with the illustrations and the diagrams.
Exactly, and actually you can use this as an exit ticket for science, but at the same time you can tell them just cut it and paste it in your journal prompt essay in your writing, and you have both things in the same place. And this one in particular will help you with the other one. So when you're doing your journaling, if you have this graphic organizer, you can base your your journaling in the information that you can get from this graphic organizer, so you know that you're talking about the whole cycle or the whole concept, because you have everything there, so you know that you're not missing anything.
And that's a very cool idea that Yasin just came up with, and he didn't share, so he looked really nice saying it. Yeah, that's a very cool idea to combine those two. And then we go to the reading lesson. So we want to cover, because this is a cross-curricular lesson, so we want to cover reading tics, and we picked 3.6F. Students expected to make inferences and use evidence to support understanding. And 3.9, the student is expected to recognize characteristics and instruction of informational text. So, and 0.3, it says organizational patterns such as cause and effect and problem and solution. We're focusing on cause and effect because of the changes of states in water. So teachers can use readers to teach, review, or reintroduce reading skills. This is another, I tell you, there's a lot of readers about the same topic. So you can use some for read aloud, you can use some for teaching content, and some for even teaching reading content. For dual language, educators can find the same readers in English and Spanish. This helps when team planning, because teachers can use the same content in both languages depending on the language of instruction of that day. Teacher can use the reader selected for the read aloud or a similar one when doing cross-curricular units. I just want to show you very quickly these readers. I clicked the one in Spanish because this week I have to teach in Spanish. So there you have it. It's a reader. It has illustrations. It has content. I'm gonna. Oh no, I clicked the one in. No, yes, it's the one in Spanish. I know. I thought I saw something in English. So that's the one in Spanish. This is the one in English. It's the same reader, same illustrations. The only difference is the language. And there you go. And this is for the evaluation process. These are questions we didn't come up with. These are already there. And these are reading questions that you can use to assess reading tics, reading objectives. And one thing we already mentioned a couple of times already is that you can download this this printable document, and you can add questions, modify questions, and then have your own assessment. Teachers can easily find the Spanish version and adjust it to the same way for common assessment. So if you're going to do a common assessment, there's your English, there's your Spanish, and you are assessing the same. One of the things that we fight a lot as bilingual teachers, I'm pretty sure if you're a bilingual teacher, you know, is like, how can I do a common assessment with my only English colleagues if I can't find that material that has the same test? And it's easy to find that same test, the same content, to have an actual apples to apples
comparison
test. Yes. So there you have.
Yeah.
And then this is just, if you have a guided reading, when your guided reading section, if you're teaching dual language, you can use for stations, you can use the writing prompts that we already talked about. And you have a lot of options that you can use. They have Lexile levels. So if you can use the comparison charts to know for your different levels of readers in your classroom, you can use this vast library of readers that EduSmart has in English and Spanish for guided reading.
I think that's it, right, Angel?
Yes, it is.
That's it. So yeah, I think we're good for a good 10, 15 minutes of questions.
I just wanted to show, and let me see if I have the right document. No, this is not the right document.
Yeah, I think Devanshi has the document, the PDF, right?
Yes, I can show that to everybody.
Okay, let me, what do I do to stop sharing?
Stop sharing.
Absolutely, and I can share that. So the document that they're referring to is a copy of their lesson plan, and you will all be receiving a copy of it as well, and I will be sharing it in our chat box right now. But this is the document they're referring to.
And in there is all the activities that we talked about, and you have links to the actual content that we are using in the lesson plan, so you can actually use it as a template for virtually any lesson in your science blog and how to combine it with your reading blog using this EduSmart Science.
I'm going to put that in our chat now. So we do have a few minutes for questions and answers, but I know that there'll be more questions than we have time for. So please place your questions in the chat box, even if it's for our presenters or if it's for our EduSmart experts here today. I will, if we don't get to them, we'll make sure that I will email them to the correct people so everyone will get the responses that they're looking for. So by all means, please use the chat box to ask all your questions. I have also placed Yasin and Angel's LinkedIn profiles onto the links. You can go ahead and connect with them one-on-one, ask them questions there, as well as a link to that document that they were referring to. So are there any questions that we could answer right now for anybody? Feel free to unmute or use the chat box. I know it always takes a while. In the meantime, thank you so much for presenting with us today. You guys have put so much energy and effort, and we are very, very grateful for the time and this wonderful project that you guys have presented for us.
There's a question there, Devanshi.
Yes, Laura has a question. Are these up to the high school level?
There's the answer.
Yeah, the answer, Todd already answered. Yes, EOC bio.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you. And thank you, Laura, for that question. We have another question. I'm using EduSmart and my students like it a lot. Thank you so much for all the new information and sharing the lesson plan. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, we're happy that the students are enjoying it, because we really put a lot of effort into making sure that the kids you know, see the product either in English or in Spanish in a way that looks originally made on those languages. Because sometimes those kids, we really want to respect those kids in the way that whenever you're using their L1, they don't feel like they're lesser, you know, like less important because the product is not well made in their language, like it's like a patch.
Or it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that too.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia.
A lot of things, a lot of things. Well, I think this is a good time to wrap it up. If you do have questions and this wasn't the space to ask it, or if we were running out of time, I did put, and I'll put it in again, all of our contact information and where to get the links that we were referencing into our chat box, and you will be emailed again tomorrow evening. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We appreciate the time. We appreciate, we do have one more note. Thank you. I'm so ashamed of how underutilized this resource is. I had no idea this was available. This is something I will definitely be using moving forward. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is actually the whole point of this webinar. So if we got you to learn that this is here, because we've been working for years now to develop all those resources in Spanish. And I know there's a lot of people that has been using EduSmart Science and they didn't even know that those resources were there in Spanish. And we know as teachers, we are actual teachers. We just came from the school to give this webinar. So basically we know what's going on in the classroom, and we know this was
5 school zones. 5 school zones I just had to go through.
Yeah,
wow.
We
made it.
Exactly.
No ticket.
Wow.
Yeah, Maribel too. Maribel is saying that she didn't know that was in Spanish. Well, yeah, it is. Everything is there, and I'm telling you, it's not a translation in Spanish. It's an adaptation. It's an actual adaptation, so you have it like it was originally made in Spanish.
No robotic voices or anything.
Exactly. It's regular, real voices that we cast in Mexico, and they're voice artists that we record, and everything, the whole deal.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much for presenting for us today. Thank you everyone for joining us. Please look forward to our follow-up email tomorrow. And yes, you will be receiving a copy of the recording, a copy of the slide deck, and a copy of the lesson plan that everyone has, that our team has created for you. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, thank you so much, Angel and Yasin, for spending time with us today. I will see you all next time.
Thank you.
A good one.
Remember, we love to demo the product, and thank you, presenters. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. We love to demo the product. My name's Jerry. I work with current Texas customers. We have Todd here as well. and Arlene works in Florida. So if there are some Florida customers, Mike Suddeth handles a lot of the southern accounts in Texas. But just get in touch with us here at info@edusmart.com, and we'll get you taken care of with your questions for sure. Is an easy way to do it, or Jerry at EduSmart, Todd at EduSmart, and we'll take care of you guys. Thank you very much for coming.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.